37. Shinra, Beloved. Once Reno was done listening in on the pair's conversation from outside the door, he reported back to Sang in the waiting room. I don't think they know Fabio's real motive, said Reno. They bought my story. You're sure? They're sobbing in there. I don't know about Kyrie, but Evan couldn't fake tears to save his life. What do you make of the claim that Fabio was acting for Evan's sake? Not sure, but consider the source. Do we believe anything that the Throp idiot says? Reno shook his head and sat down on the couch beside Sang. But we got the truth out of him later. Listen, Chief, I've got an idea. Well, more of a request. What is it? The kid was heading for Nibelheim to look for his missing mom. I just heard him saying that he was giving up, but it'd be a pretty easy trip in a chopper. Could we take him to Nibelheim? Over the straits and to the far side of the continent. Very well, Sang nodded. Yeah, I knew you'd get it, Chief. But Elena and I will take him. What? Why? A Shinra that is liked is well and good, said Sang, but we don't want people thinking its agents have gone soft. Are you saying I'm soft? Reno protested. You practically dote on him. It's not good for our image. But he's the president's brother. Hearing that, Sang knew he was right to insist on preserving objectivity. Operatives prone to sentiment needed a firm hand. You and Rude will take over our work here. We need someone to stay and receive our reports. Okay, but it'll do you good to reconnect with old colleagues. Reno gave in. Take care of the kids, boss. Without another word, Sang exited the clinic. 38. A suggestion. We must have dozed off lying next to each other, but when I woke up and looked at the clock on the wall, it was still early morning. I hadn't been out for long. I got up cautiously, but I didn't feel the slightest twinge from my shoulder. Maybe they'd given me some hardcore painkillers. Whatever the reason, I wasn't going to complain. I turned to look at Kyrie. She was still sleeping peacefully. I overslept, the doctor mumbled as he stepped into the room. Then his eyes went wide when he saw me standing. You're up! What happened to your cast? Your traction? He was staring at a mess of poles, supports, and crane-like arms that stood over the bed. Twisted wires dangled from various pulleys, some of which looked as if they'd been cut. Apparently, I hadn't just been in a cast, I had been in a full traction setup. And, like with the cast, I shouldn't have been able to get out of it. Not on my own. Weird. Aren't you in pain? It should be bad enough to make you faint, the doctor scolded, impatient at my silence. Doesn't hurt at all, Doc, I said, not without some bravado. Don't be ridiculous. The drugs shouldn't be effective. Shouldn't be that effective. In fact, they should be wearing off by now. Well, I'm feeling fine. I waved my left arm in a circle. Your shoulder was shattered. The doctor shook his head, utterly baffled. I barely managed to put it back together. It's impossible that it's healed already. Something is not right, and I need to get to the bottom of this. You stay right there. With those somewhat threatening words, the doctor left, and Elena stepped in instead. Morning. I heard you were up and about, she said without meeting my eyes. Sorry I shot you. Perfunctory. Clearly, she'd been ordered to apologize. But it doesn't hurt. No worries, right? That quack said your shoulder was shattered, but he probably is just playing it up to squeeze more money out of the company. Anyway, glad to see you on your feet. Wake up your friend. We're leaving soon. Leaving for where? I said. Nibelheim, remember? No reason to put it off now that you're back on your feet. You guys are going with us? Why? Consider it amends for winging you. Although it was your fault for trying to run off. She held my eyes, daring me to disagree. So, that was how she really felt. You don't owe me anything, I told her. Let's just go our separate ways, okay? Evan, we should go, Kyrie said. She must have been listening. I'll be outside if you need to talk it over. Make it quick, Elena walked out. I don't want to anymore, I said to Kyrie. Yeah, I know, she replied, but I do. What for? For Gold Arade. There was a name that had slipped my mind. Oh, right! It's the last case for Muriel's investigation services. We should see it through. It's up to you what you want to do about your mom. I'll follow your lead on that one. This was supposed to be a serious discussion, but I burst out laughing. What? Kyrie protested. You follow me. Is there something wrong with that? She scowled. I always liked that expression on her. We had troubles. We had problems. Now more than ever. I had no idea where any of this was leading, but I was with Kyrie. She was my rock. I knew that somehow she'd see me through whatever came at us. What are you grinning about? She demanded. Weirdo. I couldn't explain it, to be honest. Where this surge of optimism and joy was coming from. Maybe it's the drugs. They're way too good. 39. Nibelheim. We were in a chopper headed for Nibelheim. Elena was in the pilot seat. Sang sat opposite us in the back. How's your shoulder? He asked me. The doctor wanted to examine it. It's fine. Totally fine. We have plenty of painkillers. Are you sure you don't need any? No one believes me, but it's true. There's no pain at all. Perhaps you're already dead, Sang said with an impassive gaze fixed on me. I felt Kyrie stiffen at my side. What's that supposed to mean? I said. It was a joke, obviously. You need a better sense of humor, Kyrie snapped. Soon an eerie, misshapen mountain rose up above the horizon, harsh and utterly desolate. I blinked in surprise. I recognized the landscape from the painting on the wall in Muriel's office. Kyrie, it's just like the painting. She followed my gaze. Whoa, she exclaimed. That is Mount Nebel, said Singh. This area is rich in Mako, so the company built a reactor there. We also ran a research facility in Nibelheim at the base of the mountain. To research what, I wondered. It's hard to explain. Meaning classified. Meaning that even if I don't know everything, Sang looked at me. There was no Annette Townsend listed among the research staff. It's possible she participated unofficially without our knowledge, but something went wrong in that village and we are still trying to figure out what happened. However, I consider it unlikely that your mother was involved in the research. Huh, I said deliberately, sounding uninterested. If Annette Townsend was involved, it would have to be after the incident. Incident? It happened about 10 years ago, said Sang. Cleanup took a long time to cover up what happened. The company eventually rebuilt the village and recruited people to resettle it as if nothing had ever happened. Do you have a list of those people's names? No, the Turks were not directly involved in that project. But you were involved in whatever went wrong. The incident, whatever, I pressed. I won't answer that. Definitely involved. They were in it deep. Sang, I'm going down, said Elena. Kyrie and I peered out the window to get our first view of the village of Nibelheim. It looks like Doyleville, I thought. Of course, there were a few more buildings, but the layout was the same. A round open space with a cluster of houses around it, a normal hamlet with a half-derelict water tower in the plaza, and not much else. But then I saw the grand stone mansion at the edge of the village. It was the building in the background of the group photo. The Shinra research facility? Thinking about Shinra experiments reminded me of the picture of that mummified arm Dr. Drake had shown me. I couldn't shake the feeling of that photograph was connected somehow to the research that went on there. Ah, I blurted. Said Kyrie. I just remembered. This was where Tifa was from. She said that when she came by 2 years ago, she didn't know of any of the people living here. The incident, the cover-up, the resettlement. Oh, my mother was one of the people who resettled here. That has to be it. As the helicopter descended straight from the plaza, the noise of its rotor, brought the residents out of buildings to peer up at the sky. I scanned the faces, searching for my mom's among them. I realized that despite all the times I thought she must be dead, despite my decision to give up on this excursion to Nibelheim, I was desperate to see it. Kyrie and I climbed out of the helicopter, followed by Sang. The villagers hung back, watching from a distance. No one approached. They were mostly families with small children. I wanted to see if I recognized some of the faces from the photo, but there was no point. I'd forgotten all of them except for my mother's and Gold Arade's. Hello there, Kyrie said to a little girl, who promptly dashed away into her house. Who are you? Demanded an angry voice. A man was glaring at me. The lower half of his face hid him behind a full beard. In his arms, he cradled a large gun. Everybody back inside. I'll deal with them. At his command, the families retreated into their houses. Well, he said to us, who are you? Goldarade? Kyrie blurted. The man was just as surprised as I was. I hadn't recognized him at first with the beard, but the face was unmistakably belonged to Goldarade. Kyrie stepped toward him. Hello, Mr. Arade. Sang and I moved to follow her. Stop, Goldarade snarled. You with the ponytail. You're a Turk, aren't you? Stay back. I don't want any trouble. Beside me, I could sense Sang come to a halt. I glanced back at him and he gestured for us to keep going. Goldarade took us to his apartment, which had once been a room at an inn as far as I could tell. Not much in the way of personal belongings except for a collection of knives and guns hanging on the walls. I'm the head of security around here, he told us. Trouble comes visiting sometimes, monsters and other threats. The comment was probably for my benefit after he caught me staring at the arsenal. So you can tell us about the community? Kyrie asked, trying to be friendly. Well, everyone's obviously interested in living here or they wouldn't be here in the first place. But it's not like this was their village to begin with, so they've got a bit of guilt over it. They're cautious and around outsiders, but they're good, normal people once you get to know them. Arade took a seat in his easy chair. There was nowhere for us to sit, so how do you know my name? We're with Muriel's Investigative Services, based in Edge, Kyrie replied. Edge? The new city going up next to Midgar. Huh? I heard about that. Didn't know it had a name. Mr. Arade, we're here because your father asked us to find you, said Kyrie. Arade took in the news with a blank stare. My father? Do you mean Tyrion Arade? Yes. Tyrion is looking for me? Why? What do you mean? My real dad died in the Wutai Wars when I was just a boy. Tyrion was my mom's second husband, but I never thought of him as my father, and neither did he. All I wanted was to get out of that house pronto. I figured Shinra was my ticket out. So you volunteered for soldier? Anything to get away. I was pretty ticked off at my mother, too, for moving in with the guy in the first place. Still, we kept in touch while she was alive, but once she passed, I figured Tyrion and I would have more business with each other. Dunno why he'd want to find me, unless he figures I need to look after him in his old age. I didn't get that impression, said Kyrie, covering for the client, but he did seem lonely. Arade was not swayed. Can't say I'm surprised. We're going to let Mr. Tyrion Arade know we found you. Is that all right? Do whatever you want. He spread his arms in a gesture that suggested he wanted to wash his hands of the whole thing. It's your job, isn't it? Let's go, Kyrie, I said. She gave me a reproachful look and shook her head. So much for following my lead. There's one more person we're searching for. Suddenly a horrible fear gripped me. I was about to find out whether my mother was alive or dead. I hadn't heard from her in 2 years. I know what that might mean. But if she was gone, the news was going to hurt far worse than the sting I felt every time I told someone my mother was dead. I braced myself. Annette Townsend, said Kyrie. This is Evan, her son. Arade looked at me with his mouth open. Annette's son? Evan Townsend? Yes, I said. So, is Nick Foley doing all right? Huh? No, he died. I was afraid of that. He never sent word, see? Nick was... he said, then switched gears. You remember when the live stream erupted? Yes. Turns out, we were sitting on a major live stream artery. We took a lot of damage. Casualties, too. Nick asked the company for instructions, and it said we were on our own. Guess they had their hands full over there, but still, they threw us to the wolves. Arade scratched at his beard. Nick, well, he was something else. He puttered off back to Midgar on a motorbike about to fall apart, just to let people's families know what happened. Must have felt responsible. It was his job, after all, the resettlement project. But that was above and beyond, if you ask me. He was a good, upstanding guy. He'd always ask how you were, try to make things a little easier for folk. Arade interrupted himself. But then you must have known, too. I only met him once, I admitted. That right. You made quite an impression on him. What do you mean? He was convinced he lost Annette because you didn't like him. really torn up about it. Sounded to me like it was just plain unrequited love from a grown man. So my instincts were right. Nick Foley did have feelings for my mom. But she hadn't returned them. And that was where I'd been wrong. I recalled the confident smile he'd given to me, and I wondered if maybe that smile took everything he had. Nick Foley had been nervous about meeting me. He'd flashed the grin of his life and prayed it was enough to make him worthy of my mom. Suddenly, I saw him as a friend. So what happened to Annette anyway? Asked Arade. Huh? I didn't understand the question. Why ask me? She wasn't even here for a week. Said she was leaving for a job. She didn't show up again in Midgar? No. Oh, Arade regarded me sadly. I couldn't say anything, so Kyrie stepped in. But Evan's mother was one of the people who resettled here? Yeah, didn't she tell you? He asked me. Maybe it was in the NDA we signed. Couldn't even tell your family, he replied. No one knew beforehand that it was where they were moving. The huge payouts were to keep people quiet more than anything. Huge payouts? Kyrie repeated. Annette said she needed the money. They paid a half in advance. That explained the cash on the ceiling at my house. Mr. Arade, Kyrie said carefully. Would we find out anything more if we asked the other people here about Evan's mother, I mean? You'd be wasting your time. The folk here now are recent arrivals. Most of the old guard are pioneers. Well, the live stream got them. But my mom was already gone when the live stream hit, I said. Right, we missed her. See, Shinra was conducting some weird experiments out in the lab of theirs, and the survivors, the victims, were put up in the village. Annette was in charge of caring for them. Wait, hold on a second. Arade went on to the bedside table and crouched in front of a small safe underneath. He spun the dial with practiced flicks of the wrist, and the door popped open. He took out a single envelope and checked the address. This came from Annette a while after Meteorfall. It was addressed to Nick, but he wasn't around by then. I guess you should have it. He held out the envelope, but I couldn't bring myself to touch it. I was afraid it might contain her last wishes. Arade gave me a puzzled look, and Kyrie took the envelope instead. I didn't get to spend much time around her, he said. But she was a good person, very kind. I hope she's all right. Thank you, I mumbled. She might still be in Icicle Lodge, I guess. What do you mean? That letter, that's where it was sent from. I checked the envelope, and return address did indeed say Icicle Lodge. My mom's handwriting. Sorry I can't be any more help. Arade spread his hands again. The conversation was over now, I could tell. You helped plenty, thanks, Kyrie said. Kyrie and I headed toward the door. I was out of questions anyway. He stopped us. Hey, you said Tyrion seemed lonely? He looked that way, Kyrie answered. I wonder if he feels like Mr. Foley did. How so? Arade frowned. I wasn't sure that he was gesturing at me either. He can't really be a part of your family until you accept him, she said. The point's moot. My mom's dead. What if he regrets not being your father? What if he still wants to be? He just grunted, but behind his thick beard, I could see he was upset. If you do change your mind and want to talk to Tyrion, here's his contact info. Kyrie handed him the note, folded up small, that she must have written for his purpose. I guess she suspected the case would turn out this way. Always one step ahead of me. Why are you two running around with the Turks, by the way? Not that it's my business, but I'd ditch them sooner rather than later. They're relics of the old world order. Ghosts from another time. So he said, but I had a feeling that he didn't fully believe that himself. We returned to the helicopter, parked uncomfortably close to the water tower, and Sang approached the hatch and pulled us in. We're going to Icicle Lodge, Kyrie declared the moment we were aboard. Sang gave us a dubious look in lieu of the obvious question. Yup, Icicle Lodge, I echoed. Elena, take us, said Sang, resigned. This is yours, Evan. Kyrie handed me the letter from my mother. Still reluctant, I put it in my satchel. I'll read it later. On a sudden impulse, I took out the Nibelheim group photo and examined it once more. Kyrie looked over my shoulder. Nick Foley hadn't written the phone number for my house on the back because the company was a wreck and he didn't have an office. He put it there because he wanted me to join him in the search for Evan Townsend, the woman we both cared for. 40. Under Junon. Reno and Rude were getting bored. They had taken up position at the beach house, as instructed, and sat back to wait for their old colleagues to show up. They were still waiting. "This is never gonna work," Reno complained. "What is it?" said Rude. "Sitting around doing nothing. I mean, if we haven't found any intel on Genova after all this time, we're gonna need everyone looking if we ever hope to get some, right?" "Probably true." "We should be out there, too, flying around, getting our hands dirty. That's what the Turks do, am I right?" "Yep." "So let's go." "Where?" "No idea." "Check it out." Rude pointed with his chin. Two men near the village gates. They were standing there with uncertainty, looking around, clearly searching for someone or something. "Oh, hey!" Reno waved to them. One of the pair noticed. It was Doyle. He came jogging over to the beach house. "Reno, Rude, what are you two doing here?" "First things first, introduce us, would ya?" said Reno. "Who's the mean-looking kid?" "I'm Leslie," said the other man, catching up. "A friend of Evan and Kyrie's." Rude spied the somewhat menacing black leather glove on Leslie's left hand. Maybe this kid had a professional background. "So, what brought you guys all the way out here?" Reno remarked. "We're looking for Evan," Doyle replied. "We borrowed your truck from the plaza, by the way. We heard he was headed for Nibelheim." Leslie looked Rude in the eye. "We figured he might come here to catch a ship. Is he around?" "Why? What do you need him for?" said Rude. "If he doesn't get help soon, he could die." "What do you mean?" demanded Reno. "You should know, you're the ones who beat him up." Leslie took a step closer, and Doyle nudged his arm, warning. "You gonna explain, or what?" Reno repeated. "The day before Fabio died, he took his little brother to the doctor," said Doyle. "And the doctor said about Evan, the doctor asked about Evan and said Evan needed some kind of treatment immediately, so Fabio decided to find a chopper and go after him." "Who told you all this?" "Fabio's brother," Doyle replied. Leslie glared in silence at Reno and Rude. Behind his sunglasses, Rude was glaring back. "If that was the deal, why didn't Fabio just ask us for a chopper?" Reno protested. "Why'd he have to go throwing explosives at people?" "As far as Fabio knew, you killed his parents," Leslie said quietly. Reno had no retort for that. "Let's go," said Rude as he stood. He'd heard enough. "We'll find Evan." 41. Icicle Lodge, and a letter from Mom. Icicle Lodge, it turned out, was a snowbound village far to the north. I could feel my hands and feet growing numb as we slithered and slid down an icy slope toward the huddled log cabins. I was spared the worst of it with my leather jacket, but Kyrie was in shorts and a sleeveless top. "Couldn't we have landed closer?" she said through chattering teeth. Sung and Elena had put the helicopter down 15 long minutes out from the village, probably to avoid unnecessary conflict with the locals. They gave us a cell phone, which they would call to check in with us whenever they deemed appropriate. "Ah!" Kyrie yelped. Her foot slipped on the snowy path, and she grabbed my left arm to keep from falling. "Oh, sorry, did I hurt your shoulder?" It still felt fine, although I'd agreed to take a mild painkiller just in case. Sang had a briefcase full of drugs and medicine for all kinds of ailments, including, he said, something that would knock me out if the pain got unbearable. I'd rather it didn't come down to that. "I'll walk on this side." Kyrie moved around to my right and hugged me at my arm. "You used to walk in front of me," I remarked. "Yeah, people said I looked good from behind, so I'd walk faster." That was something of a revelation. I hadn't been too slow at all. I laughed out loud. Oh, good, you're laughing, huh? That's the first time you've even cracked a smile since we left Nibelheim." "Oh, really?" Guess she was right. I'd been preoccupied. I might be on the verge of finding my mother. Finally, the path down the hill flattened out just before the cabins of the village. "Look, that must be the inn Sang mentioned," she said. We started toward the building, with the sign that read Icicle Inn. Inside, the heat was turned up so high, we started sweating almost immediately. Directly opposite the entrance was a small counter, and a hall that presumably led to the guest rooms branched off to the right. To the left was a tavern about the size of Tifa's seventh heaven, where 3 groups of customers sat talking and laughing. A little kiosk in the corner sold warm scarves and thick downy jackets. "I'm going to take a look at that shop." Kyrie met my eyes and nodded. "Good luck, Evan." I nodded in return and approached the counter. The middle-aged lady greeted me with a friendly grin. "Welcome to Icicle Inn," she said. "Do you have a reservation?" "No, actually, I have a question." The clerk's smile faded slightly. Do you know a woman named Annette Townsend? She would have come here about 2 years ago. The lady frowned and thought for a second, and then, in the same friendly smile, returned. I'm sorry, I only arrived here recently, but I think our owner might know more. Unfortunately, she's not in today. If you come back tomorrow... I see. Would you like a room in the meantime? I can offer you a discount. Sure, I agreed. Glad to have you. She checked me in and I paid. When I rejoined Kyrie in the shop, she seemed vaguely concerned. Did I mess up? I asked. No, it's just... Kyrie glanced at the lady behind the counter. Tell you what, let's just go to the room first, okay? This was awkward. I should have asked what she wanted to do first. We went past the front desk and down the hall to our room. There it was, number 3. Maybe I can get a second room, I said. I'll go back and ask. No, it's fine. It's a really tiny. Maybe we'll think. If it's really tiny, maybe we'll think about it. Kyrie grabbed the key from me and unlocked the door with a loud ka-chunk. Then quickly slipped inside, leaving me to follow her. The room was about as big as my own place back in Edge, but the huge bed occupied the majority of the space. Did this qualify as really tiny? Kyrie would have to decide. She promptly fell to the bed and spread out her limbs. Ah, it's so comfy. I tore my eyes away from her glorious legs before me, perched on the edge of the tiny bed. Kyrie popped herself up on one elbow and looked at me. Hey, Evan, where do you think the owner lives? I mean, she has to be close by. There's nowhere else around for people to live. When I thought about it, she was obviously right. So, we didn't need to get a room? Exactly. The woman at the front desk knows her business. I feel like an idiot. I'm not complaining, said Kyrie. The bed feels nice and... Oh, there's a shower. Yeah. We could do with a break anyway. Sure. Come on, don't be hard on yourself. You were up against one cunning businesswoman, Kyrie teased. She got down from the bed. I'll call Sang and then I'm going to get a warmer jacket. Plus, I want to have a cup of tea in the tavern. So, if there's anything you need to do... Right. She was giving me time to read the letter Goldarade had given me. The letter from my mother. The letter. Got it. Unless you want to read it together. No thanks. Okay, come find me when you're done. Kyrie left the room with a light step, maybe on purpose so as not to disturb me or something. Alone, I thought about taking a nap but realized that would only mean putting it off again. So I took the envelope out from my bag and carefully tore open the sealed flap. Turned it upside down and gently shook 2 or 3 sheets of paper came out, followed by a smaller piece of scrap paper. I went for that first and immediately recognized my mother's handwriting. To Mr. Nick Foley, it began. It looks like I'm going to have to stay here longer than I thought, so I'm sending you the contract. If anything happens to me, please make sure you get the remaining money to Evan. The advance is in our house. You know where. Please take care of his surgery as well. He doesn't know anything, so try not to scare him too much. He needs to see Dr. Dimitri, an army doctor, in Junon. Thank you for all your help. My hands trembled as I put down the note and picked up the contract she referred to. A lot of it was legal gobbledygook, but I got the gist. The signing party was to reside in Nibelheim for 1 year in exchange for financial compensation, provisional on full non-disclosure, and total silence vis-a-vis. The aforementioned and hereinafter and blah 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 blah, the amount specified at the end was mind-boggling. And then my eyes were drawn to the last paragraph above my mother's signature, written in clearer language than the rest. I, the undersigned, hereby affirm that I will not disclose the terms of this contract or any information acquired in the course of my duties to any outside party under any circumstances. I understand that breach of contract is punishable by death. In an attempt to calm myself, I went to the sink and scrubbed my face. It didn't work. Apparently I needed surgery, and my mom agreed not only to live for a year in Nibelheim to pay for it, but to put her life up as collateral as well. All for my sake. My legs were shaking. Apparently there's something wrong with his head too. They said his mother fainted when she heard. Shh, don't talk like that in front of patients. I sat down on the bed. Evan, said Kyrie, sounding worried. I waited a while, but you didn't show up, so when I raised my head, I saw she was wearing a red down jacket, presumably from the hotel shop. She started when she saw my face, then stepped closer and gingerly reached out to hold me. Don't cry, I'm right here, okay? Oh, the tears must have sneaked up on me. I don't know how long I sat there with Kyrie's arms around me. The snow created an illusion of light outside, but the sun must have long since set when the knock came at the door. Yes? Kyrie got up to answer it. I heard a husky voice in the hallway. Just a moment. Kyrie came back to the room. The hotel owner wants to talk to you. Okay. I'll let her in. She turned to the door again and called. Please come in, ma'am. A stooped old woman, her white hair in a tight bun, appeared in the doorway. Hello there. I'm Wendy, the owner. I'm told you were asking about Annette Townsend? Yes, ma'am, I said. I'm her son, Evan. Oh my, her son! The woman swept closer, unexpectedly nimble, and took my hands. How wonderful it is to meet you, dear. It must have been quite a trip. What a fine young man you are. Not exactly. How did the surgery go? I haven't had it, I floundered, looking at Kyrie. She was always hearing critical information from someone else. I saw her mouth. Surgery? And I saw her mouth surgery? And I nodded quietly. Can I ask you some questions about my mother? I asked the woman, of course. Of course. She took the chair by the window, peering out into the night. But I only know about the time when she came here. Whatever you can tell us. It was 2 years ago, back when things weren't so rosy around here. Inside the helicopter, the temperature was falling. Sang and Elena huddled in their blankets and listened to the conversation coming through a speaker. The microphone was in Evan's bag. 2 years ago, during the events the hotel owner described, Sang had been lying half dead in a Junon hospital. Meanwhile, Elena had come here to make Cloud and his gang pay for what she believed to be the murder of her beloved boss, although they turned out to have been innocent of the crime. The two of them reflected on their experiences as the old woman told her story. To the north of town are the great snowfields, and normally they'd have been crowded with skiers and snowboarders. But at that time, the only visitors we had were these strange, scary folks streaming in from who knows where, dressed all in black with hoods over their faces, mumbling to themselves. Victims of Hojo's experiments, murmured Sang. With the Genova cells? Said Elena. He also used samples from Sephiroth, I've heard. The Shinra company had conducted various experiments on Genova, the fabled entity that had descended from space. In many cases, the experiments were haphazard procedures that involved injecting Genova cells into tissue into human bodies by various means. The company had never been aware of the full scope of the experiments, and the details of the work had been lost along with Dr. Hojo, the scientist that conducted research largely without oversight. Clearly, the shambling people the hotel owner had seen were the result of these tests, but there was no way of knowing now that what procedures they had undergone. One detail, however, was known to a select few, phenomenon known as reunion. Those implanted with Genova cells, directly from the source or indirectly from Sephiroth, were drawn to the northern cave, as if something was calling them home. Your mother said she was responsible for looking after these people in black, so she wanted to find them and bring them all back. She'd had to find her own way up here, and she was in terrible state by the time she did. But she was too late. They'd all gone further north, so she gave up and left. But about 2 months later, she was back and saying she couldn't abandon her work. I tried to stop her. I told her she'd never find them now. But off she went, old lady paused. She didn't come back, did she? No. What's out there to the north? Back then, it was just snowfields and great icy cliffs beyond it. If you scaled the cliffs, people said you'd find an enormous crater that led down into the depths of the earth. But I have no idea if that's true or not. I've certainly never seen it. I tried to imagine the crater on the other side of the icy cliffs, a hole leading down into the bowels of the earth. Had my mom gone in there? But she couldn't have. She couldn't have scaled those huge cliffs of ice. Can we go there? I said. When the life stream erupted 2 years ago, it transformed the landscape. It left crevices everywhere, deep rifts in the ground covered by snow like a pit trap. It's far too dangerous now to venture north of here, at least on foot. If you had some way to fly there, then maybe. There was interference in the signal, and bursts of static were making parts of the exchange between Evan and the old woman inaudible. Evan will want to go, won't he? Said Elena, adjusting the gain dial on the receiver. The weather's getting worse. Then the signal disappeared altogether. Yeah? Is that true? Reno glared at the former soldier officer, second class, who gave his name as Goldarade. I have no reason to lie to you. Listen, you damn! Reno reached out to grab the man's collar, but Rude batted his hand down. Let's go, Reno. Rude strode away and climbed back into the helicopter. Hey, wait up, partner! Reno rushed after him and jumped aboard just as the idling rotor started to pick up speed. The swirling cloud of dust kicked up by their takeoff forced the watching residents to squint and turn their faces away. Rude, what the hell? Rude ignored the question and gained altitude. Check it out. Reno looked down at the receding ground. Beside the water tower were the telltale tracks of a helicopter's landing skids. Oh, so they were here. What's the problem? Asked Doyle from the back seat. Nobody likes us, is what? Reno sighed and picked up the radio to hail the second chopper. But there was no answer. Why aren't they picking up? Song and Elena were in room 4 at the Icicle Inn. This should be close enough, Elena said as she set the receiver from the listening device on the small table. In the next room, Evan and Kyrie were alone again. Shouldn't we go to Junon? We have to find this Dr. Dimitri. The surgery sounds important. You can always look for your mom when you're healthy. Maybe. Let me think. Their conversation came through loud and clear. Sang, do you know a doctor in Junon named Dimitri? Asked Elena. Yes, you've met him too, and under Junon. Oh, you mean Eugene? Yep, Eugene Dimitri. 42. Fabio. I could hear Kyrie taking her shower as the steam leaked under the bathroom door and fogged up the windows. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. She was humming over the sound of the water. The same old Costa del Sol jingle. She was doubling down on the energetic act to cheer me up, and it grated on my nerves. Your nerves? Evan Townsend, you are the worst. Just do what you have to do. Deal with your problem, then take Kyrie to Costa del Sol and get back on your damn feet and back to your damn life. But where do I even start? Sang, please get some sleep, said Elena. I'll monitor them, but I doubt they'll go anywhere in a snowstorm like this, especially not in the middle of the night. I'd rather keep listening. You take the first break. I can't sleep in front of you. It's embarrassing. Sang ignored her and went to the window, wiped off the condensation, and peered outside. There beyond the glass was the face of a young man. Sang caught his breath. The silver-haired boy looked straight at him and smiled, then lifted a finger to his lips, commanding silence. Elena, I'm stepping out for a moment. Stay here. Where are you going? To check on the helicopter. Sang wasn't sure himself why he decided to lie to her. At first, I thought it was the wind, but eventually I realized someone was tapping at the window. Sang or Elena, maybe? No one but the Turks would be tapping on someone's window at night during a blizzard, so I wiped off the glass to take a look outside, and there was Fabio. I yelped and backed away. Then the window opened, and he poked his head in. What the hell, Fabio? Hey, Evan, we need to talk. He adjusted his glasses and peered over the rims at me. Never seen him do that before. Come outside, Evan. It's important that I talk to you. Come out, or I'll kill Kyrie. Oh, okay, this wasn't Fabio, just someone who looked like him. Someone or something. I felt my blood run cold, and I shivered all over. Evan, is somebody there? Kyrie called from the bathroom. Just wait, I'll be right out, I told the figure, and then closed the window. The shivers didn't let up. I'll kill Kyrie, he thought. I heard that voice again. If I just stayed here shaking in my boots, he might actually do it. I threw on my bomb jacket and Kyrie's new red down coat on top of it for good measure. Then I took Rufus's pistol from my bag. After a moment's hesitation, I shoved it into Kyrie's backpack instead. I tried to find anything else that might serve as a weapon to come up, but came up blank. Just as I summoned up my courage and opened the door, Kyrie poked her head out of the bathroom. Evan? I'm just gonna go get something to drink. Get me something too. Sure, I replied, and I left the room. As I walked down the hallway, I considered what might be waiting for me. Whatever it was, I was probably no match for it, with or without the gun. But even if the odds were against me, at least I might put some distance between it and Kyrie. What other choice did I have? Creeping along the wall of the inn, through the snow piled high against the wall, Sang approached the place where the silver-haired boy had been standing. There was nothing there, not even footprints. Elena shoved the microphone receiver in her pocket and dashed out the hall. Evan had only just left his room, but she didn't see him. On high alert now, she went up to the front desk. She knew the prickle of goosebumps rising on her skin was not caused by the cold. This way, the disembodied voice led me through the village. A fierce wind was whipping snow into my face. I couldn't tell if the snow was falling from the sky or blown off the ground. I was practically blind. "There's a guard station up ahead just a little further," said the voice. It sounded close, and I tried to spot the source, but it was ahead of me, somewhere beyond the whiteout. "We're here." I looked up, and this time I made out a small building, a log cabin like most of the other buildings here. Someone dressed all in green was standing in front, and the door was open. I clambered through the drifts and finally made it inside. "Good, close the door." I hesitated. Whatever was about to happen, I wanted to leave myself a way out. I tried to think of a reason to leave the door open, but then it closed by itself. How did it do that? My legs began shaking again. "Evan, there's something I want you to see." How about answering some questions? Despite all the crackling and trembling in my voice, I managed to get the whole sentence out. "I'll go first," said the doppelganger. "It'll be quick." The only light in the dim room was the faintly glowing figure, but that had to be my eyes playing tricks on me, or my brain. After all, something was wrong with my head. I was sick enough to need surgery. I wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that my vision was affected. "Where can I find this?" The thing that wasn't Fabio was holding up a grotesque photo. "Is that the one I saw at Dr. Drake's?" Yes, Dr. Drake was unable to tell me where she was. "Well, I don't effing know. I only saw the pictures in his office and..." I stopped. The photo was covered in dark splatters, not black, but rusty brown. There was no mistaking it. "Is that blood?" "Yes, the good doctor's. His mind told me that she was in the Shinra building, but she wasn't there. I thought he tricked me." "What's going on?" I demanded. I shouldn't demand. "Who are you?" "Who indeed? I'm not quite sure myself. You wouldn't happen to know, would you?" He reached out through the inky darkness and touched my left arm. "Apparently not." Suddenly, just for a moment, instead of Fabio, I saw a slender, silver-haired boy. But then in the next instant, it was Dr. Drake with his shock of white hair. He stuck his tongue out, jeering at me. "I was so excited to learn you might know about Genova, but no. You've only seen a picture. Same as the doctor, it turned out. But someone has to know where the actual one is." "Well, it isn't me. I don't know anything. And I even healed your shoulder, useless idiot." I thought I saw blood dribble from Dr. Drake's mouth, and then the figure shimmered and warped. A shapeshifter. One that somehow could lock into your mind and take the form of people who mattered to you. Its next face was my mother's. "Stop it!" "Evan, your shoulder doesn't hurt, does it?" "That's thanks to me, but I'm taking the gift back now." The creature that looked like my mother withdrew its hand. A horrible, blinding agony seized me. I screamed. Sang heard the piercing scream over the howl of wind just as he reached the small cabin. He readied his gun in a white-knuckle grip and shoved the door open. The darkness inside was as thick as ink, and his skin crawled with the certainty that something malicious was waiting for him. That and the familiar feeling of having one foot too many in the grave. "Evan?" Sang tried to ignore the ominous sensation and stepped into the blackness. His foot found Evan sprawled on the floor. As he crouched down to check for vital signs, something grabbed him by the back of the neck. "You," a young man's voice came from behind him. "Evan thinks you can tell me where Genova is." Sang tried to turn around, but the grip that held him was inhumanly strong. "Why is that, I wonder? Evan doesn't know anything about her." Sang concentrated on keeping his mind blank. He could sense something alien flowing into him through the hand on his neck, and something else being drawn out of him. "What, you think I'm Genova?" No, Genova is my mother. I'm the one who's looking for her." If the creature was reading his mind, he couldn't let it have any more information, but he couldn't help himself from remembering another who had once called Genova his mother. "Sephiroth? Yes, I know the name. I felt him in the life stream, though only faintly. I didn't care for him." "It hurts," Evan groaned. "Sang, give me the drug, the painkiller. You don't know either. Why doesn't anyone know?" the creature shouted, and at the moment the menacing pressure around Sang's neck eased. Sang toppled forward and onto Evan, causing the young man to scream helplessly in the darkness. The footsteps leading out of the inn were already fading under the fresh snowfall, but Elena was able to follow them to the cabin, where she had found Sang and Evan. "Sang!" "I'm fine," he said. "Evan needs a painkiller." Yes, sir. She knelt down and took the injector from her belt holster and then pressed it to Evan's neck. There was a small recoil at the concentrated point that penetrated the skin. What happened? There's some kind of creature here. One with all the characteristics of Genova.